Today I'm going to tie a Sparkle Caddis Pupa like we have here. It seems to be a really popular pattern on the internet. A lot of people have been suggesting it to me lately, and I see it in fly shops everywhere I go. I've never fished it before, but I'd like to do some lower Deschutes caddis nymphing later this month. So it looks fairly basic on the outside. What I've learned is it took a few dozen flies to sort of come up with a method that actually works to tie it fairly efficiently with that shuck. So I'll show you the trick that I'm using to tie it. I'm just going to use a standard mustad hook, 3X heavy. Not going to put a bead head on this, although I would probably suggest tying just as many or more with a bead head as without, and then with a bead head I'd go 2X. So I'm just going to start my thread back over the body, and I'm using that tag end to sort of guide me down to the hook, to the barb. Then I'm going to tie on a little tiny bit of Antron yarn. So I'm going to cut off just a little tiny piece, or if you have a scrap piece laying around. The name of the game on these is really sparse. You should be able to count the number of fibers coming out the back. So this is for the tail. So we're just going to tie on a few little tail fibers there. And again, I don't need a million wraps there. And then I'm going to kind of trim it at different lengths so that it isn't all just kind of cut off at one length. And that tagging can be cut off. Then the trick I'm using is you take a good 3 or 4 inches of this Antron yarn that comes on a spool. I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to get right up to the end of it. And I'm going to cut it off again so I have a nice clean cut. I'm going to pinch wrap it. And I'm going to pull it all the way back just to where it's just covering the body area. And then I'm going to take it back to the back of the hook, kind of using that to guide me in. And then the trick is I'm actually going to come up underneath, and I'm going to wrap that in underneath, so that now I have this on the top and I have it on the bottom. And so I can grab kind of both ends and make sure that I'm good and centered underneath, and then I can go back, and then I'm just going to cut this off. So by creating that loop, I'm creating a sort of a tool that allows me to deal with this Antron, which if you just cut it off straight and try and wrap it over the body, it turns into a bit of a mess. So then I'm going to dub on some of my, this is Hair Zero Ice Dub Olive. I call it my Magic Green Caddis dubbing. Great Mackenzie dubbing. And I'm going to color the thread, not dub the thread. I think a lot of people, again, they get a little too carried away. You want to play a little game, see how little of that you can get on the thread, not how much. So we're just trying to color the body. Doesn't have to be perfect. Wrap over that. Even that's probably a little bit much, but again, we're trying to create an illusion here, so a little spikiness is okay. So then we're going to take our loop that we've created, and the first thing I'm going to do is kind of pull it over the front and the rear of the body, just like that. And I'm going to kind of pinch it, and then I'm going to do a pinch wrap. Hopefully I have the top on the top and the bottom on the bottom. And then I'm going to take a look. Looks like the bottom's a little bit long, so I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to pull it just a little bit. You need to back off a couple thread wraps. I'm going to pull it just a little bit to make sure we've got everything sort of adjusted. And I could do 2 of these if I wanted to truly make this thing a globe, I could go around with a horizontal version of one of these two, or split this and tie it in horizontally. I kind of like the top and the bottom version. Again, I can pick it out with a bodkin to make sure that, or my scissors, just to make sure I've got good distribution. These things are more challenging than one might think, but we're trying to imitate that air bubble. So I'm going to pull that back, cut it off right at the head, nice and clean. And I can continue on with my other steps. I'm going to kind of squeeze that, hold that in place, go back so I can tie my wing. And the wing's just going to be a little bit, tiny bit of elk hair, and I mean that, a little tiny bit. I tend to cut off more than I really want, and then I pick a lot of it out and pull the fuzz out so I can stack it. I usually do that with my fingers, or I've got various fuzz pullers that I'll talk about in other videos. I go backwards into my stacker. It's way better than coming in from the top. So you'll get way less fibers that get turned around. You tap it on your hand, on your desk, whatever. I give it a spin, which gives me all the fibers not necessarily in one particular direction. And then I'm going to take a look at things. Still got a bit much. I'm just going to peel some off. Really don't want a big wing on this. This is really to hold the float. And then we're going to go about the length of the body that we've dubbed on, which is very, very short. Go up and over, pinch wrap, loose, getting a little bit tighter, pull a couple of those fibers up, really lock it down, go in between those fibers. I can even come up underneath here, tying a half hitch just on the hook eye, and pull those fibers up. I'm going to push down, I'm going to slide my scissors down the head, I'm going to push hard, down on the head, cut that off. It's a good time to use a little bit of wax so that as I'm wrapping that head up, I've got a little extra grip. Crowding the hook eye on this for sure. I definitely am not a fan of crowding the hook eye, but this is a standard hook. Next thing I've got is just some brown spiky dubbing. Again, you could dub this on using the Nor-Vise technique of spinning it, which I actually really like. It makes it nice and spiky. But I'd have to adjust the camera to do that, so we'll just do that. And again, a little bit of the game is to see how little we can put on so that we can come up with a head that is representative of what we're after. Bugs don't have big hairy heads. And we're just going to go over the back, go well up onto that wing, give it some tension, kind of back and over. As soon as we get down there, we're going to go up onto the head, kind of pull that back, and then we're just going to whip finish. 1, 2, 3, call it done, cut it off. Pull out any stray fibers. These ones down here are actually really nice. Sometimes it's nice to hit it with a toothbrush and comb a couple of those fibers back. Take a look, we've got a nice body that represents that air bubble. It's going to trap air bubbles and it goes down. A nice multi-length tail.